What happens when a major industrial economy holds less than 2 days of gas reserves while a war threatens one of the world's most critical energy choke points? Recent energy data shows Great Britain holding just 6,999 gigawatt hours of stored gas, a level that represents under 48 hours of national demand. At the same moment, conflict involving Iran is disrupting liquefied natural gas shipments across global markets. The question is no longer theoretical. The stability of energy supply chains is being tested in real time. If the disruption spreads or lasts longer than expected, the consequences reach far beyond British households or European power plants. Modern economies depend on continuous gas flows for electricity generation, heating, industry, and chemical production. Interruptions cascade rapidly through financial markets, shipping networks, and manufacturing supply chains. In a tightly interconnected energy system, shortages in one region quickly raise prices and shift cargoes across entire continents. To understand the current tension, it is necessary to examine how Britain's gas system evolved. The country once relied heavily on domestic production from the North Sea, which peaked around the early 2000s. At that time, the United Kingdom exported natural gas to continental Europe. Over the following 2 decades, however, declining fields gradually reduced domestic output. Imports from Norway, liquefied natural gas terminals, and pipeline interconnectors with mainland Europe increasingly replaced those volumes. Gas storage capacity developed differently from many continental systems. European Union countries collectively maintain reserves capable of covering several weeks of demand. Britain historically relied more on flexible imports and pipeline supply rather than large underground storage fields. As a result, maximum British storage capacity equals roughly 12 days of national consumption under ideal conditions. Current inventories represent significantly less than that theoretical maximum. Figures from the National Transmission System operator indicate that Britain held 6,999 gigawatt hours of gas in storage during the latest reporting period. 1 year earlier, the figure stood at approximately 9,105 gigawatt hours. The decline reflects both seasonal demand and structural changes in the energy market. When winter temperatures fall, stored gas is gradually withdrawn to balance consumption. When temperatures rise, operators refill the caverns and facilities. Authorities responsible for the network have attempted to reassure markets that the situation remains manageable. Officials emphasize that storage represents only one component of the country's supply system. Gas continues to arrive from the Norwegian continental shelf through pipelines, from domestic fields in the North Sea, and from liquefied natural gas terminals receiving shipments from multiple exporting countries. Interconnectors linking Britain to mainland Europe also allow gas to move in either direction depending on market conditions. However, the wider geopolitical environment has complicated these calculations. The escalation of hostilities involving Iran has sharply affected maritime energy flows. The Strait of Hormuz, a narrow passage between Iran and the Arabian Peninsula, carries roughly 1/5 of global seaborne liquefied natural gas shipments. When military activity increases in that corridor, shipping companies reassess routes, insurance costs, and delivery priorities. Ship tracking data indicates that several LNG tankers originally heading toward European terminals altered course while crossing the Atlantic. Instead of continuing toward Europe, they redirected toward Asian markets where prices had climbed sharply. Market signals drive those decisions. When buyers in Asia offer higher prices for cargoes, traders reroute shipments to maximize profit. Energy markets respond quickly to perceived shortages. The price signals during the current crisis have been dramatic. Before the escalation of hostilities, British month-ahead gas contracts traded around 78 pence per therm. Within days of the conflict intensifying, the price rose to approximately 137 pence per therm. Similar movements appeared across Asian LNG benchmarks, reflecting strong demand and fears of restricted supply. Additional complications emerged when a drone strike forced a halt at the world's largest liquefied natural gas facility in Qatar. Qatar represents one of the most important LNG exporters globally, supplying major Asian importers as well as European markets. Even a temporary disruption at such a facility can tighten supply across multiple regions simultaneously. The redirection of cargoes illustrates how energy markets function during periods of stress. Tankers carrying liquefied natural gas operate within a global trading system rather than a fixed pipeline network. When price differences widen between regions, vessels change destinations mid-voyage. In the current environment, stronger demand in Asia, combined with uncertainty in the Persian Gulf, has encouraged several ships to abandon European delivery schedules. Two possible trajectories now emerge from this evolving situation. One scenario assumes the conflict remains limited in duration and geographic scope. If shipping lanes remain open and production facilities return to operation quickly, gas markets could stabilize within weeks. Britain would continue relying on pipeline imports from Norway and flexible LNG purchases while gradually rebuilding storage levels as seasonal demand declines. A second scenario explores a more prolonged disruption. If military tensions close or heavily restrict the Strait of Hormuz, a significant portion of global LNG supply would face delays or rerouting. Under those circumstances, European markets could compete aggressively with Asian buyers for available cargoes. Prices would likely surge further, forcing governments and industries to adjust consumption patterns. Energy security debates often focus on infrastructure and supply diversity, but policy decisions also play a critical role. Britain has discussed expanding storage capacity, floating LNG terminals, and additional import flexibility to address long-term risks. Industry leaders describe the present moment as a turning point for national energy planning, warning that declining domestic production requires new strategic approaches. The broader lesson emerging from the current crisis concerns how energy systems operate in an interconnected world. Gas molecules do not follow political alliances or geographic assumptions. They move toward the highest bidder through pipelines, shipping routes, and trading platforms that respond instantly to price signals. For Britain, the immediate challenge lies in maintaining reliable supply while markets fluctuate. Even with limited storage, the country continues receiving gas from multiple sources every day. Yet the narrow margin between available reserves and national demand highlights the importance of resilience within modern energy systems. Observers watching the unfolding conflict should monitor several indicators in the coming weeks. The first involves shipping activity through the Strait of Hormuz and whether insurance costs or security concerns reduce tanker traffic. The second concerns LNG production levels in Qatar and other exporting nations capable of replacing disrupted volumes. The third involves price movements in both Asian and European markets, which reveal how traders assess the evolving risk.